Part 1. The transformation of impressions into habits. In the philosophy of reincarnation, it's said that the impressions, or sanskaras, from past lives carry forward into the present, influencing our behaviors, tendencies, and habits. These sanskaras accumulate over lifetimes, shaping our personalities and decisions, often without our conscious awareness. These past impressions manifest as habits in the present life. Over time, repeated actions and behaviors become deeply ingrained, turning into automatic responses that dictate our actions, often without any conscious thought. The habits we develop in this life won't stop here. They become sanskaras for the next birth, perpetuating a cycle of behaviors across lifetimes. This raises the question, where does this cycle end? How does one break free from these deeply ingrained habits? The answer lies in understanding that you are not your habits. You are not your past impressions or actions. This awareness is the key to breaking the cycle. The realization that you are separate from your habits and sanskaras is the first step toward liberation. This insight paves the way to spiritual growth, where your actions are no longer determined by unconscious patterns, but by conscious choices. Many people, however, remain stuck in their habits, acting out their past without knowing it. They are bound by the automatic patterns of their mind, reacting to situations based on old habits rather than conscious awareness. These people often feel trapped, as though their actions are predetermined, unable to exercise true free will. The first step toward breaking this cycle is acknowledging that habits are not the true self. You are a spiritual being, and your true essence is beyond these behavioral patterns. By understanding this, you begin to see that your identity is not defined by your past actions or the habits you've accumulated over lifetimes. You start to detach from these sanskaras and see them as temporary, fleeting aspects of your personality, not as the core of who you are. Part 2. Breaking free from the cycle of habits. The second part of this journey involves becoming aware of the automatic nature of your habits. Once you realize that you are not your habits, you begin to see how they operate in your life. Often, people react to situations without thinking, simply following the path laid out by past behavior. This is how sanskaras turn into habits, and habits control your actions. For example, someone might have a habit of getting angry in certain situations. Over time, this anger becomes automatic, a button that can be pressed by external circumstances. When the right situation arises, this person reacts with anger, not out of choice, but because their habit dictates it. This automatic response becomes so ingrained that it feels like there is no alternative. But this is where true awareness comes in. By recognizing that you are not your habit of anger, you gain the power to choose a different response. Instead of reacting automatically, you can pause, reflect, and make a conscious decision about how to act. This is the essence of spiritual mastery, being the master of your actions, not the slave of your habits. The more you practice this awareness, the more you break free from the automatic nature of your habits. You begin to see that you have a choice in every moment, and that choice is what gives you freedom. When you live in awareness, your habits lose their power over you. You are no longer bound by past impressions or automatic reactions. Instead, you become the master of your destiny, able to act with intention and purpose. This is the path to spiritual liberation, where your actions are guided by consciousness, not by the unconscious patterns of your mind. Part 3. Consciousness as the key to freedom. As you become more aware of your habits, you also begin to see how they are triggered by external circumstances. In many ways, people become like machines, reacting automatically when certain buttons are pressed. Someone might praise you and you feel happy. Someone else criticizes you and you feel angry. These reactions are not conscious choices. They are automatic responses conditioned by your past experiences and habits. The key to freedom is recognizing that you are not your reactions. Just because someone presses a button doesn't mean you have to react in a certain way. True freedom comes when you can choose your response rather than being controlled by external circumstances. For example, someone might insult you, expecting you to get angry. But if you are aware, you can choose not to react. You can observe the situation without being pulled into it emotionally. This is what it means to be the master of your actions. You are no longer controlled by your habits or by external circumstances. Instead, you are free to act in a way that aligns with your highest self. This kind of self-mastery is the ultimate goal of spiritual practice. It allows you to live with intention and purpose rather than being controlled by unconscious habits and reactions. It gives you the power to create your own destiny rather than being a victim of your past. Part 4. The role of habits in daily life. While it's important to break free from the automatic nature of habits, it's also true that habits have a role to play in daily life. Certain habits, like brushing your teeth or driving a car, make life easier. If you had to consciously think about every action, life would become overwhelming. The key is not to eliminate habits entirely, but to make sure that habits do not control you. You should be the master of your habits, not the other way around. This means being aware of your habits and making conscious choices about when and how to engage in them. For example, a person who has mastered the habit of driving doesn't need to think about every action while behind the wheel. They can drive effortlessly, allowing their mind to focus on other things. This is the power of habits. They can make certain tasks automatic, freeing up mental energy for other pursuits. However, problems arise when habits take over and you begin to live life on autopilot. When this happens, you are no longer making conscious choices. Instead, you are simply reacting based on past patterns. This is where the danger lies, when habits become so ingrained that they control your actions without your awareness. The solution is to cultivate mindfulness in your daily life. Be aware of your habits and make sure they are serving you rather than controlling you. When you live with awareness, you can use habits to your advantage without becoming a slave to them. Part 5. Mastery over habits through awareness. The final part of this journey is to achieve complete mastery over your habits. This doesn't mean eliminating all habits, but rather using them consciously. When you are aware of your habits, you can decide when to engage in them and when to let them go. For example, someone might have a habit of drinking coffee every morning. If this habit is serving them and they enjoy it, there is no need to eliminate it. But if it becomes a compulsion, something they can't function without, then it's time to reevaluate the role of that habit in their life. The key to mastery is awareness. When you are aware, you can choose how to engage with your habits. You can decide whether they are serving you or whether they are controlling you. This awareness gives you the power to make conscious choices rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. In the spiritual path, this kind of mastery is essential. It allows you to live with intention, rather than being controlled by the automatic nature of your mind. It gives you the freedom to act in alignment with your highest self, rather than being pulled into unconscious reactions. This is the ultimate goal of spiritual practice, to become the master of your actions, not the slave of your habits. When you achieve this level of mastery, you are truly free. You are no longer bound by the past or by the automatic patterns of your mind. Instead, you are free to create your own destiny, guided by consciousness and awareness. This detailed exploration of the passage explains the cycle of habits and impressions and how awareness can lead to freedom from automatic, unconscious behaviors.